The name, the pronunciation of Yehovah, a historical and linguistic investigation. Introduction. The name Yehovah, commonly referred to as the Tetragrammaton, occupies a central position in biblical theology. Known as the personal name of the God, or Elohim, the pluralized biblical title of the Creator, often translated as God of Israel, the Tetragrammaton, appears over 6,800 times in the Hebrew Bible. Its precise pronunciation, however, has been obscured over time due to later Jewish traditions that avoided vocalizing the name. This essay aims to investigate the name Yehovah based on historical, linguistic, and textual evidence, focusing on the Masoretic text's vocalization and the scholarly exploration of its pronunciation. Scriptural significance of Yehovah. The name Yehovah is of foundational importance in the Hebrew Bible. In Exodus 3:15, God tells Moses, "Thus you shall say to the children of Israel, Yehovah, the God of your ancestors, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, has sent me to you. This is my name forever, and this is my memorial for all generations." This declaration underscores the permanence and significance of the name. Similarly, Deuteronomy 32:3 emphasizes the importance of invoking Yehovah's name in worship, "For I will proclaim the name of Yehovah." Ascribe greatness to our God. From a scriptural perspective, the prohibition found in Exodus 20:7 against taking Elohim's name in vain pertains to misuse, rather than a prohibition of uttering the name. This is supported by the abundant usage of Yehovah throughout the Hebrew Bible. The frequency of the name's appearance in these sacred texts demonstrates its integral role in ancient Israelite religion, which suggests that Yehovah was likely pronounced in regular practice. Historical and archaeological evidence. Archaeological findings confirm that Yehovah was used and pronounced in ancient Israel. Artifacts like the Ketef Hinnom silver scrolls, 7th century BCE, which contain blessings invoking the name Yehovah, indicate that the name was actively spoken during the First Temple period. Additional inscriptions from Khirbet el-Om and Kuntilat Adret provide further evidence that Yehovah was invoked in blessings, oaths, and dedications. These findings support the notion that Yehovah was regularly pronounced in ancient Israelite spiritual and communal life, in contrast to later Jewish traditions that discouraged vocalizing the name. The reverence for Yehovah in early Israel is thus clearly reflected in both the scriptural text and archaeological discoveries. The linguistic roots of Yehovah. Linguistically, Yehovah is generally understood to be derived from the Hebrew root haya, meaning to be or to exist. This connection is reflected in Elohim's self-identification in Exodus 3:14 as Ehaya, often translated as I am, that I am, with meaning I am or I will be. This etymology suggests that Yehovah could mean he who causes to be or he who exists. But the actual name, removing all historical bias and breaking the word down to its fundamental parts, suggests the name simply means existence. Strong's Concordance defines it thusly: Jehovah equals the existing one. The Masoretic text, which provides the most authoritative manuscript tradition of the Hebrew Bible, vocalizes the Tetragrammaton as Yehovah. While some scholars argue that this vocalization reflects the insertion of the vowels from the word Adonai to remind readers to say Adonai instead of the divine name, the consistent vocalization as Yehovah across the Masoretic manuscripts suggests that it may reflect an older tradition of pronunciation. The evidence for Yehovah as the correct pronunciation. The vocalization Yehovah is supported by several pieces of evidence. 1. Masoretic vocalization. The Masoretes, who added vowels to the consonantal Hebrew text, consistently pointed Yehovah with the vowels of Adonai. However, given that the Masoretes were meticulous in preserving the Hebrew text, it is possible that this vocalization also preserved elements of the ancient pronunciation, albeit influenced by reverential concerns. 2. Linguistic structure. Yehovah is a grammatically plausible form derived from the verb Heya, following the typical Hebrew verbal structure, which supports its authenticity as a name. 3. Textual tradition. Unlike the scholarly reconstruction of Yahweh, the Masoretic vocalization, Yehovah, is based on the textual tradition that has been transmitted faithfully over centuries. As such, it holds a strong claim to being a legitimate pronunciation within the context of the Hebrew Bible's own textual history. 4. Medieval and early modern sources. Medieval Jewish scholars, such as Abraham ibn Ezra and others, frequently referenced Yehovah as the divine name, and some early Christian sources, including certain translations of the Hebrew Bible, used a form of the name resembling Yehovah. Theories of pronunciation. The most widely accepted scholarly theory is that the original pronunciation was closer to Yahweh, based on comparative linguistic evidence from ancient Semitic languages, early Greek transcriptions of the Hebrew Bible, and phonological analysis. However, the Masoretic tradition of Yehovah, while influenced by the reverence for the name, appears to reflect an older, authentic tradition of pronunciation. 1. Greek transcriptions. Early Christian writers such as Clement of Alexandria recorded the name as Yahweh or Yahweh, which approximates Yahweh. This has led many scholars to favor this reconstruction. 2. Comparative Semitic linguistics. Other ancient Semitic languages, like Ugaritic and Phoenician, contain divine names that are phonetically similar to Yahweh, lending further support to this pronunciation. 3. The Masoretic tradition. The Masoretes were known for their care in preserving not only the consonants but also the traditional vocalizations of Hebrew. While Yehovah may have been influenced by reverence, the fact that it appears consistently suggests it is not merely a later innovation but may very likely reflect an older vocalization. The shift in pronunciation practices. By the Second Temple period, a growing sense of reverence for the name Yehovah led to the practice of substituting Adonai or Hashem in place of vocalizing the divine name. This development is often seen as a response to the commandment in Exodus 20:7, which forbids taking Elohim's name in vain. The Mishnah and Talmudic literature further codified this practice, reserving the pronunciation of Yehovah exclusively for the high priest during the Yom Kippur service. After the destruction of the Second Temple in 70 CE, the prohibition against pronouncing Yehovah became more entrenched in Jewish practice. Today, mainstream Judaism continues to avoid vocalizing Yehovah, using substitute titles such as Adonai or Hashem instead. Conclusion. The name Yehovah holds a profound and central place in the Hebrew Bible and Israelite religious history. While the pronunciation Yahweh is widely accepted among scholars based on linguistic and historical evidence, the Masoretic vocalization, Yehovah, also carries significant weight as a legitimate pronunciation within the biblical tradition. The archaeological, textual, and linguistic evidence points to the name being used and pronounced in ancient Israel before later Jewish traditions shifted towards a reverential silence surrounding the divine name. Understanding Yehovah in its historical and linguistic context helps uncover the deeper significance of the name as both a theological concept and a central element of Israelite identity and worship. Though the views of this channel lean towards the pronunciation Yehovah, it's important to understand that our actions and our words are not nearly as significant as the intentions of our heart, and that we follow the highest law to love Elohim with all of our heart, soul, and mind, and love our neighbors as ourselves.